Oh, go.
Hi everybody. I had a request to demonstrate how I pull my handles for my mugs. I start by scoring and slipping them. I do that the very first thing because I like it to soak in. And while that's soaking in, I take about 1/4 pound of a piece of clay and I try to make it into a carrot shape by rolling it gently. It's important for me that I have something to hold on to and that it starts to be thinner at the bottom before I even put it in the water. Now, pulling a handle, I don't think I do it any differently than anyone else. Very gentle. This clay is a little bit soft. Generally, if I'm going to pull a handle, I take clay out of a bag that's pretty stiff. Now, as I'm pulling, if I notice that the bottom is getting a little lump on it, I have no problem just pinching that lump right off because I like my hand to always flow from the top all the way to the bottom with every pull. I'm getting close. This clay is a little bit soft, so I have to be careful. Now I like a little rim, and when I'm putting the rim in with my thumb, I'm pulling down, but at the same time I'm pulling up with the hand that's holding the clay. So it's a double motion. And I do it, 2 or 3 or 4 times, because it's got to be a very gentle pull, or you'll end up twisting your clay or having a weak spot in your clay. So it's just a little pretend line, so it looks like you pulled this gorgeous handle. Now, I had a teacher in Connecticut, and he used to take a carrot shape, put it on the mug, and pull the handle right off the mug. I've never been able to do that. So the way I determine where the top of my handle is going to be is I kind of let the clay determine that. I hold it like this, and where it looks like it needs to arch and where it's firm enough, that's where I pinch it off. Now this is the dangerous part. For a beginner, you pull this piece off, and the handle you just pulled, because it's wet, falls. So be careful. Keep your hand sort of bent that way when you pinch it off. Get your other hand under there. Get it in a position where it's not going to slide off your fingers, because that's pretty frustrating. Now I've got this pinched off piece here, and that's what's going to go against where I scored and slipped the mug. And when I'm putting the handle on the mug, I've got a finger back here so that I don't warp the shape of my mug, and I'm pushing this piece of the mug on with this finger. So I'm holding it firmly here, and I'm pushing with this finger as I push it on and maybe a little gently up. Now I'm not trying to make it perfect at this point, I'm just trying to get it to stick. Now I haven't moved this hand, and that's important because you want this to come up, and if you take your hand away, the wet, soft clay is just going to fall. So keeping your hand there, pick up your mug and your hand. You see how lovely that works? Make sure you've got it straight this way, because it's real easy to have a twist. Make sure it's pretty much how you want it to look this way. Back and forth a few times. Get it where you want it. Of course, this takes practice. And then I give it a little push with my thumb at the base to stick it onto where I did the scoring and the slip. And then I pinch this off. I leave myself a little because I like to make that little flare at the end. Okay, so right now, I'm keeping my cup kind of at an angle. It's attached there pretty well, and it's been pushed on there. By no means is it finished. Now, my teacher in Connecticut, his would be beautiful up here. He would have pulled it right off. It'd be all smeared on and look really nice. Well, that's not the case with the way I do it. So, with a wet finger, I come way down here where it's right up against the mug. And I just do a little bit of pushing it on. And a little bit on the sides. just maybe the first 1/4 of an inch. See how I'm not going all the way up there yet? I'm staying right here at the base of the handle where it meets the mug. Husband, I'm going to turn it a little bit. And I kind of do it on the side a little bit. All I'm doing is getting that little edge part to stick. Once I get that going, I move up a little. Now I'm going up about a 1/2 inch. And with a wet finger, it's got to be wet because that's what's going to move the clay. My goal is that this arch in the handle looks like a complete, easy, flowing transition. It goes up and around, and it feels like it's part of the mug. And that takes, as you practice, it takes little time at all. But at first, you have to practice it to get it right. Start low, work up, until finally you're smoothing the entire inside of the handle so it looks like one continuous circular flow. It's real important that the inside of your handle is smooth because that's where your customers or your mug users, that's what they're going to feel. Now once I get it looking the way I want, I do one final little bit of water just so it's real smooth and shiny. And then I look at this profile, make sure I like it, and with a dry hand, I take the base of my handle and I do a little bit of a V. I've got a little bit too much clay here, so I'll take a little bit of that off. I want the whole thing to be a little bit of a V shape. Okay, so it comes down a little bit, like that. And then I take whatever clay is at the end there, with a dryish hand, pick it up and pinch it down in. I didn't push hard. It was relatively gentle. Now that looks kind of messy, but it won't in a minute because you take just a barely damp sponge and you get all those little rough edges off. Maybe you give it another little pinch, get the sharp edges off, and all of a sudden the profile just looks adorable. See that profile there? So, you know, any little way you want to do the base of your handle, of course, is up to you, but that's how I get that little blip there. Now, you could leave it sharp. I don't. I don't think anything should be sharp on any piece of pottery that somebody's going to use to eat with. So I always smooth it off gently. That's as sharp as I would want it to be. So that's how I put on my handles. And I'll put my shells on now, and in about an hour, I'll put the thumb rests on. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Thank you, husband.